So my name is Andrew Simpson. I'm the head of film for the Tyneside Cinema, which means that I programme the screens. So everything that appears on screen in the cinema as part of the public programme is what I do for a role here. So essentially my job is to pick which new release independent titles play at the cinema from week to week, as well as organising all of the original programming that the cinema puts together. So director retrospectives, thematic programmes based around particular themes that we might want to explore, all of the access programming, and anything that is something that appears on screen or some kind of event that happens around a film screening that we might do here, like a director Q&A. That's what I put together and am responsible for. Yeah, so it was obviously a very challenging time, and you went through a period of a few weeks where you never really felt as though you knew how things were going to shift and how things were going to change. We had a couple of weeks where it was effectively the case that the country was slowly kind of shutting down, and we didn't really quite know what that would mean for cinema, and also what it would mean for, we've got a restaurant and a sort of an old-fashioned coffee rooms, tea rooms environment. We've got a cafe, so we run kind of quite a big hospitality business as well as the cinema side of things. And so not really kind of knowing how that was going to change, and just having to adapt very quickly over that time was really difficult. Obviously effectively being forced to close in March 2020. The bar had to shut before the cinema shut, so you had bits of the business closing down before other bits did, but you saw the audience kind of disappear for a good week or so before closure. And then I think just having several months, which then turned into more than a year, of not really knowing when you'd be able to reopen the place, and constantly having to make new plans all of the time, thinking that you're going to open in July, then thinking you're going to open in September, then thinking you're going to open in November. And we're maybe relatively unusual in comparison to other cinemas in the UK in that we didn't open at any point between March 2020 and August 2021. Lots of, I think we did about 20 kind of reopening programmes, and so just things shifting all of the time was probably the most difficult thing, I think. To be honest, it's mostly around the support that was kind of made available to cultural organisations, during the COVID pandemic, really, that allowed us to return and reopen. Essentially being closed for a very long time. The cinema doesn't own its building. It has rent to pay, it has utilities to cover, all that sort of thing. So financially it was very difficult, and I think for an initial period of time it did look as though the cinema might not survive during that early period. If the cinema was going to be closed for that long, there was a restructure internally as well, because the cinema essentially felt that it wasn't going to be able to open a lot of the spaces within the building for quite a long time, and you'd be running with sort of social distancing with 25% audiences and 25% of people that you would normally have in the cafe and all that kind of thing. So there was a big restructure that happened last year, during which we lost a lot of staff, which was very, very difficult. And then, the cinema has been incredibly fortunate to be supported by public money that was made available for cultural institutions to survive during this period. So we received over £1 million from the Cultural Recovery Fund a few months ago now, which was one of the highest awards in England, but that was very much kind of reflective of the fact that the cinema was, in serious financial difficulty at that time, but very much that money that was made available has allowed us to reopen, and we're now in a slow period of recovery. Yeah, I think there's definitely a place for cinema in the future. I think we've seen, even in the short time that we've been open, we've only really been open for 3 months now, we've seen people really enthusiastically return experience kind of the magic of independent film, both here and at other cinemas around the UK. I think there definitely is a future for that. There's a lot of doom-mongering that is talked about when it comes to the advent of streaming services and that kind of thing. And I think you can see there's maybe kind of a little bit of a shift in people's habits, that people being on furlough and stuck at home and watching lots of films at home has maybe inculcated in people. But people still love the communal experience of what this is and what this place offers. And I don't think that goes away. I think there's definitely kind of a bit of a process that you have to go through in order to bring people back. I think you have to be more creative. People want to attend events. They want things that feel social. But actually I think kind of a venue like the Tyneside's in a really good position to offer that kind of thing, because actually what we've always done is given people a little bit more than just going to see the new film on a Friday night. Where we've got social spaces, we have special events, we have director Q&As, we have thematic seasons. All of these kind of things are maybe kind of a little bit more than your average cinema going experiences, and I actually think kind of independent venues, because that is what they do. They're about kind of creating something unique for their audience. I think in many ways they're in a better position to tackle maybe sort of the changes in habits than maybe other cinemas are, because of our ability to do something a little bit extra for people and do something a little bit more special. So people love films and they'll never stop loving films, and I think personally, I think if anything, I think the streaming platforms allow people to try stuff out and to actually kind of broaden that kind of those viewing habits and that film diet they might have, and actually I think one of the interesting things about the last year is I think you potentially got a slightly more dynamic way that cinemas and streaming can actually kind of work together, and there's actually a way to sort of build more eclectic film taste that can kind of benefit venues like ours that comes out of that relationship. So yeah, I'm positive about the future in that regard.